Katamari Forever, aka Katamari Tribute, was a bold new step for the Katamari franchise, being the first game to include old courses from past games and reimagining them on the PlayStation 3. While I've got my gripes about how this was handled, overall this game is really fun, and in my opinion, pretty underrated for its new gameplay features and absolutely wild story, even by Katamari standards. And who wouldn't want to play a collection of fan-favorite levels? Well, despite a mostly pretty good selection, unfortunately not all of these Katamaris were created equal, as some duds sneaked into this game, while more deserving levels got shoved to the side, as opposed to something like Beautiful Katamari which played it safe and didn't have any flops. But how do we differentiate the good levels from the bad, the stars from the stardust, the big bangs from the pathetic planets? That's what this list is for. I'll be placing them all on a tier list from F to S tier based on a casual playthrough, as well as replay value and memorability. And just so we're clear, this is all my opinion, and it's coming from someone who has played all the previous games in the series, but who doesn't go for 120 speedruns or collection completion. So without further ado, let's start with the F tiers. Playing these makes me hate myself.
I am feeling like I want to die and that this is complete torture, and I don't know what I did to somebody to make me sit here and do this.
Like I said, I enjoy most of these levels quite a bit, and I could only find 2 that I actively don't want to play. But hopefully, no matter your opinion, you can at the very least see where I'm come from when I say that the campfire level from We Love Katamari should be used to torture prisoners of war. It is truly that bad. Why is this campfire so indescribably annoying? Well, not only is there no indication of how big you need to be to light this stupid fire, this area is a barren wasteland with nothing to even roll up. Which is a huge problem, because if you go more than 2 milliseconds without rolling something, your campfire decides that it no longer wants to be in this world. You know what? I can't even blame it, because that's how I feel playing this. Despite the lack of items, there sure are a lot of people walking around, but you can't roll them because that's apparently inhumane. So instead, when you get within 3 feet of them, they just kick you into the river. Wow, doesn't that sound like fun? And before I get any comments about having a skill issue, you're right. But also, I don't even hate it because it's hard. There are other difficult levels, and some of them are ranked pretty high because they have meaningful, well-thought-out challenges that are hard to avoid but rewarding once you finally beat them. This is just a chore to play, and when I'm done, I'm not even satisfied. I'm just annoyed at this level for wasting my time. In general, I do prefer the gimmick levels to the boring just make a star ones, but I don't think I need to justify this placement any longer. No one likes this level. And if you do, no you don't.
Oh no! Oh no!
The race level, also from We Love Katamari, has a good idea, but is weighed down immensely by the fact that your Katamari is literally impossible to control. So the concept here is that your Katamari will move on its own, which is fine, except someone set the speed to like 1,000 miles per hour so you can barely steer, and God help you if you hit something, because then your Katamari will just bounce around like it's in a pinball machine. And if you miss something, yeah, good luck trying to turn around. This level also has a really slow start, and that item placement here is just weird, especially the broken heart. And maybe you noticed that I haven't even talked about drive mode. That's because playing this level on drive mode sucks. Just look at this. I see the appeal here, and if this had been refined a little, maybe I could have enjoyed it, but for now, this is just not for me. And that's it for the F tier. The D tier is for the levels that are forgettable, and if they disappeared tomorrow, I would not care. In my opinion, these should have been cut to allow for new RoboKing levels, as none of them are interesting or stick in your mind after you play them in any way.
I'm going to be so boring, Michael will get so fed up, he'll go back to bed.
Make a Star, 10, 7, and 8 all get lumped together because they are essentially the same level 3 times, and none of those times were interesting. 10 and 7 in particular are actually a little bit difficult, but without anything to justify that difficulty other than poor item placement and just weird progression. 10 is the worst because that first section is actually painful to play, and that is probably the worst broken heart placement in the entire game. Are you starting to see a pattern here? I don't like the levels where the items are so sporadically placed it takes 5 minutes to get from 1 meter to 2 meters. That is not how I prefer to spend my time. In a game where I could potentially be going to space or rolling around a man, why would I choose to play on these barren city streets? The other 2 are not the worst thing to play, but they can't compete with the real levels at the top of the list.
I hate school. I hate work. I hate my teachers. I hate to learn.
I have the least to say about the school level because it's kind of a snooze fest. I'm not a fan of time trial levels in general, but this one is my least favorite because it's just pretty forgettable. The students meandering around makes it more challenging than some other levels, which is always appreciated, but this level is just kind of there.
I forgot that you existed.
Guessing Simulator, the Just Right trio, are all rather boring and pointless, but at the very least, they're short. One would have sufficed. We didn't need to bring back all three to pad out space that could have been filled by the crown level, the rings, or even Ikebana. By the way, I feel the need to clarify that I do not hate Damacy or We Love Katamari. There's some really good stuff from those games, but the worst of those levels are just pretty mid compared to how refined we get later on in the series. The ordering here is pretty arbitrary. I just picked large as my favorite because it's the most difficult, as I'm not as familiar with the actual size of big objects. I do actually have a compliment for it, which is that I appreciate how the grayscale of the King's levels actually makes these a little bit easier than they would have been otherwise. But there is nothing here that makes you care at all.
Clean up, everybody, everywhere.
Clean Up the Room is similar to the school level in a lot of ways, but at least there's a fun concept here. It's more difficult than most baby levels, especially in drive mode, but the idea behind this one is just so wholesome and fun that it kind of makes up for the fact that I personally don't really like to play it. Yeah, it can get annoying at the end when you're desperately searching for that last piece, but this is such a whatever level that I just can't waste energy to hate it. I'll play it once at the start of the game, and then forget about its existence. C tier is reserved for levels that aren't bad, but aren't anything special. At the very least, they managed to avoid the Forgettable tier by having some fun challenge or mechanic, but they're still just mid. Hey Cowbear level, count your blessings, because the only reason this one evaded the F tier is the fact that you can just not do it. Seriously, just roll to your left and you're done in 1 second. Pros can attempt the grilling quest for the Cowbear, but it's not mandatory unlike the Campfire BS, so it's whatever. As for my personal opinion, yeah, this has been discussed at length, so I doubt I have anything to add that isn't derivative. You know it, you probably don't love it, and I just can't bring myself to care about it. Sorry, Cowbear. Yeah, this certainly is a tutorial for Katamari. This is one of the few levels that are actually tied into the story, so I wouldn't have minded if they had made up a new way to introduce players to the mechanic of the game to make this big event a little more special. Instead, we get Egg School from beautiful Katamari with a new coat of paint and a bonus jump at the end. But I like Egg School, and really there are only so many ways to teach the player how to roll, so it's not worth complaining about. The only problem this level has, aside from being unoriginal, is that it just lies to you. It says you should shake the controller to jump instead of just using R2, which is kind of weird.
I wear a mask with a smile for hours at a time.
The King's Dream is a nice little bonus level after the massive Wake Up the King finale. It's not hard or all that memorable, just mindless fun. The weird thing is that the King says he'll give you bonus twinkle time and then he just doesn't. Not sure what that's about, but I've given up on making sense of his dialogue a long time ago.
By default, my favorite way to win!
Like the King's Dream, the Snowman level is a welcome reprieve from the barrage of long, challenging levels in the last third of the game, both because of the guaranteed 100 points and the soothing, chill vibe. Most players probably dash right for the Snowman body to get this level done and over with, which I usually do, but spending time rolling around this quaint little ski resort is really relaxing, even if you try to roll every little thing. The snow adding to your size is what boosted this out of the D tier, since it's a great detail, even without the fan there to accuse you of plagiarism. Make a Star 11 beat out the other Make a Big Ball levels because of the scale of it all. I do question why both this and Make the Moon had to be added since they're essentially the same level, but I guess it's just because of We Love Katamari nostalgia. And while this isn't the most epic final level a Katamari game has to offer, it sure is passable, and it's always satisfying to see a tiny Katamari grow into a huge one. But there are other levels of this type, and in my opinion, they executed it a little bit better. Except for the fact that none of those levels have Natsuo, the best cousin, and I will not be hearing arguments about this, which makes this level an S tier in my heart. Too bad it's so boring. But you know what isn't boring? The B tier, which I would consider the threshold for a good, bordering on great level. I'm always down to play on these, despite some minor nitpicks I have with the game design or presentation. Mother Nature's Memorial's Aquarium is the setting for a pretty fun collect-em-all type of level that sees you tracking down as many animals as you can fit onto your ball. If this had been given the room cleaning or school gimmick where you have to find all the animals, it would have been an easy F tier because that's just crazy. Everyone be grateful we're living in the good timeline where Namco didn't do that. The only thing that isn't great here is the music, which doesn't fit the tone of this area at all and should have instead been saved for the climactic ending level it was clearly made for, since that would have hit so much harder, but we'll get there when we get there. For now, the animal level is nice, despite its musical dissonance.
I am under the water
Please help me.
Falling just short of the upper half of the list is the underwater level, which has some somewhat annoying mechanics, namely the slow-mo and especially those fish hooks, but it gets a pass on sheer vibes. Like a lot of these levels, the first half is a little slow and tedious, but the fun factor of zipping around like a crazy person rolling all these fish and people more than make up for it. Special shout out to this heart, which works especially well in this more limited area, and these kids who fall into the water and couldn't care less. I aspire to be this level of nonchalant.
I want to live on the moon.
A classic from the first game, Make the Moon doesn't have the best item distribution, but it makes up for it with the last quarter of the level just being really insane. It's unlike any other Katamari level in the way that it just really ramps up the size gain once you get to 60 meters. Unfortunately, the first half, and especially the first town area, is really boring. Once you're out of there, this level is nothing but fun, especially in drive mode. Maybe this doesn't deserve to be so high since Katamari as a franchise has improved so much since Damacy, but if we had to bring back any of those levels, this one was the right call. It's iconic and deserves its place as the final Katamari you make with Robo King, and the final level in his Cosmos. It's kinda weird that there's a big empty spot here. You would think that they would have added a level in this spot, maybe a bonus after you wake up the king or something, I don't know.
I'm over 50, and of course everything hurts for no fucking reason.
Limited to 50 is really unique, as unlike the other levels, you're not trying to roll as many things as possible. In fact, the 50 item limit serves as a unique challenge without being too infuriating or a waste of your time. It can be frustrating when a tiny thing lands in your face out of nowhere, but it doesn't break the game unlike the cow bear. There's just another level that takes this concept and really elevates it creatively and stylistically, which makes this one a little bit redundant in hindsight.
Okay, we are cooked.
Well, this was probably higher than you expected, considering how much I laid into the campfire level, but I actually think this is the best way to be difficult without just being aggravating. Sure, it's a speedrun level, which I do not like, and it constantly has you on the edge of your seat worried that the next cold thing you touch will send your Katamari below zero, and the cousins are placed in the most annoyingly dangerous spot imaginable, but I don't know, I just like it, sorry. I think the big difference between this and the camp is that I would rather avoid actual detrimental items than desperately search around for anything at all, because if I roll something cold, that's kind of my fault, whereas in the camp level, I'm just getting screwed over by evil game design. Plus, you can roll people and burn them alive, how fun. I would totally understand people who don't like this level given its difficulty, but personally, I don't mind a challenge as long as that challenge was done intentionally with thought put into it. I do have a nitpick that's unrelated to gameplay, and that's that I don't think this should have been the penultimate level before the final boss. In my opinion, Make the Moon deserved that spot, since even though it's not as hard, it's a lot more grand and makes more sense with the story we're trying to tell. Okay, now we're entering to the A tier with some really amazing levels.
Come on, man. That's too easy.
Beautiful Katamari had a unique idea for its levels, making them each themed around a certain category of items and marking you both on size and of how much of that thing you rolled up. While not all of those stages were winners, Delightful Dirgeable or Make a Star 1 definitely was. It actually had its difficulty slightly nerfed from the beautiful Katamari version, since you start at 10 centimeters instead of 5. This happened to a few levels, but this one was really notable because it takes it from a level so easy a baby could pass it, to a level so easy an embryo could pass it. But being easy doesn't make it bad. It's basically the perfect starter level, being easy enough that new players likely won't struggle to get the job done, but still failable under the right conditions. The candy store is a great starting area, as very dense with small things to roll up and places to test your rolling skills like this countertop. Short, sweet, and to the point. Who could ask for more? Maybe this is a bit of a sneak, but I like the gingerbread house. For a starter level, this gets the job done teaching how to roll without making me bored out of my mind. Watching the house fall down is a really neat visual, and I don't know, it's just satisfying rolling up every last sweet, pushing your luck to see how much you can get before the mad dash to pick up the siblings at the top of the hill. It introduces some really satisfying elements of Katamari, and what makes this even better is that since it's on the easier side, it will likely be a lot of players' first 120, motivating them to keep getting better. It's not the most technically impressive, but it just puts a smile on my face, and it could have maybe placed even higher, if not for the fact that it does suffer from the limited to 50 problem, where it's a less memorable version of a level that comes much later. Not much to say about this one, it's just pleasant.
I wish to get to know this world as Firefly.
The campfire's non-evil twin, rolling up hundreds of fireflies, might seem uninteresting and really annoying since they barely add to your size, but this level strikes a perfect balance between chill and challenging. The relaxing vibes are in full force as you roll up all these cute little balls of light, and the more fireflies you roll up, the brighter you get. That really motivates me to do a good job on this one, since I can live with a bare minimum size Katamari, but if I'm making it light, it had better be dazzling. That's another good thing, that this level is based on brightness instead of size, kind of, and the unique way you finish the level by rolling into this nerd reading. Honestly, this seems like a really inefficient light source, like just get a lamp or something. Anyway, rolling under this river and especially behind the waterfall is really nice, since some levels don't let you do that, and unlike that, other one, the distribution here is perfect, as the fireflies are sometimes in big clumps that are satisfying to roll into, but there are also some stragglers to chase down for the tryhards in the world who go for 120s. I don't have the patience for that, but good for you. I respect the grind.
Insufficient funds, you ain't got no money.
The money level is one of my brother's favorites, and was therefore one of the most replayed in my house. And while I like it a little less, it's still a great level for those who like scouring every inch of the map for some hidden gem. It's a bit disappointing how hard it is to get a good score without looking it up, as many of the tiny, little, expensive things are hidden in weird or unexpected places. But that's what makes this one stand out, is you can spend hours rolling around looking for a ring or something. What made it barely miss out on the S tier is that, personally, I prefer levels where you can do well in different ways, whereas this one you're kind of limited to a certain path if you want to get the top score. But clearly some people really love figuring out how to play a game at the most efficient way possible, so this one's for them. Also, I found it really funny that the king thinks he's so generous for giving you the 300k for the shopping level, but when you bring him back millions from this one, he acts like you're the brokest person to ever be poor, LMAO. We finally made it to the S tier, what I would call my favorite levels and my personal top 10. The A tier levels all go 100 points, but these ones, they all deserve a 120. Next up, we have a big stretch of bangers from beautiful Katamari. The constellation is basically the animals level, but better, as you're given a lot more variety as how you go about collecting all 88 constellations. It was significantly buffed from the beautiful Katamari iteration, as not only are there a lot more constellation things to roll, but there's also a broken heart to use as a Hail Mary. It's like the money level in the sense that there are a few items hidden in tricky places that you need to get all 88, but done in a way that I like better because of the options it gives you, while also allowing you to discover the secrets on your own.
Let's go gambling!
As you can probably tell, I really love beautiful Katamari, mainly due to its simple and sweet gameplay and beautiful visuals, as well as a healthy dose of nostalgia bias. However, I think Katamari did a little too much pandering to the beautiful Katamari enthusiast, which, as far as I can tell, is just me, by bringing back so many of those levels when most of them aren't too different from each other. The rich level in particular really could have been cut, since it's very similar in concept to the money level, and they come almost back to back in chronological order. But with that being said, it still makes the top 10 because of how well it represents its theme. There are rich things all over, but the standout is the secret room full of gold bars. I mean, come on, S tier for that alone. And also for being easy in the size department, but more difficult to get enough expensive things. I think that's the perfect compromise for making a satisfying level that presents a challenge as we ease out of the introduction levels. Why are there whales? What does that have to do with danger? I mean, I guess whales are kind of dangerous, but still, what is even happening here? The dangerous level is pure chaos. This is, I think, the biggest starting size, beginning at an astounding 100 meters, starting this level off with a bang, and that energy never falters throughout the whole time. It takes my least favorite part of the really big levels and turns it on its head, having these huge whales with islands on their back because why not, and also these tornadoes that are not afraid to pick you up and throw you around for no reason. The cousin scattered around is also fun, and the Robo King going into danger mode was a nice addition, but the real star at the end of the levels is the stars, because after you rolled up every last piece of land, you get to roll around the earth that is smaller than you and catch the shooting stars you made. This whole level can be summed up in the fact that it is very silly and a little bit sadistic, which is just a good descriptor for the Katamari series in general. But at the end of the day, this is just a small snippet of an even better level, which is... The true finale of Katamari Forever is a pretty epic experience. I mean, come on, you go into space, that's just cool. The starting section is super fun, and so is the King's dialogue when you get big enough to unlock a new area. While I love playing this and can appreciate how it's sped up slightly from the beautiful Katamari version, I do think this game could have benefited from an original level as its final boss. In the original, it was this epic journey where the black hole was a looming threat the entire game, and you had to make a huge Katamari to plug it up with the ever-present danger of getting sucked in and failing. But here it's just... roll up the king, which is nowhere near as exciting, and it isn't even suspenseful, like obviously he's gonna be in space. In my beautiful Katamari ranking, which might get its own video someday, I don't know, I had this one above the next level, but in this game it got dragged down a bit for being ever so slightly anticlimactic. Still a great time though. What a great last final level, it's so cool that the game just turns off after this.
It's me and my crew, big energy.
In my opinion, Make a Star 9, also known as the Energy level, also known as Dynaville for all the other old seniors out there, is the best just make it big level that this game has to offer. What makes it so good? It's just aggressively fun going from town to city to all around the world in search of energy. Okay, I think I actually do know why this is the best one, and it's because it's so jam-packed with stuff. This one never has a dull moment, unlike Make a Star 11 and the Moon one, since you never slow down. This is how you do a size-based level without making it boring. Picking up the Dokudami Islands into the Start Island landmasses is especially satisfying, and it cuts right off before the boring part, which I would define as 2 to 5,000 kilometers. I guess the king was right when he said Earth was really full of things.
Big bag, big bag, big bag, big bag.
The mechanic of rolling up calories could be considered the same as rolling for size in a different font, but it's the layout of this level that makes it really shine. Not only is this grocery store just absolutely packed with foods to roll up, you eventually realize that all those shelves you rolled past are actually made of candy and cookies. It's so obvious, but so genius at the same time, and just really enhances the experience. There are a lot of hidden foods here that give you a huge bonus, which adds to the replay value, and overall, it's not too difficult, but not a free win either, thanks to the amount of care you can clearly tell they put into this one.
From the top, make it drop. That's some wet ass.
Katamari.
Just barely missing out on a podium spot, Katamari Sprinkler stands out among the other levels as you're not actually rolling anything up. Rather, you use the Katamari to sprinkle water all over the desert until it turns into a lush green grassland, complete with trees, flowers, and animals just waiting to knock into you. The lack of items might make this one seem a little plain, but it's actually packed with fun Easter eggs, and it takes advantage of everything Katamari Forever has to offer. First of all, the Prince Hop, which gets somewhat neglected in the other games, takes center stage here, as you need to hop up the trees to get to the islands. And when I discovered that reaching these statues unlocks a new water source, my mind was blown. There's also the big cousin statues on the second island, which are a fun bit of decoration, especially the big Natsuo Natsuo mentioned. The Sprinkler is such a good time that for a while it was my number one, but the lack of things to roll up brought it down a bit, since I thought it would be unfair for Katamari ranking. That doesn't take away anything from this masterpiece of a level, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Her arms were cut off. Her legs were cut off. Her ears were cut off. Her tongue was cut off.
Okay, this is gonna be long because if I had a nickel for every time I think about the farewell level, I would have one nickel because it never leaves my mind. I guess I'll start with, hey Katamari, do you know what you are? You're Katamari, and you have no right to be making me feel this number of feelings. For the rest of these levels, I've tried to sort of separate them from the story they're a part of since they're all very replayable after the first time around, and for most of them, the intros, outros, and little comments the king makes are not relevant and usually end up getting skipped. But here, they're an essential part of the experience. So many of his quotes live rent-free in my mind because of how absolutely insane and cruel they are.
An utter waste of space is what we call it. That's mean!
And adding to this unsettling atmosphere is the music. I'll just insert this comment that I wrote under this song because this section is already long enough and I haven't even mentioned the gameplay. The main feature here is the Broken Hearts time system, where each heart you roll adds another minute to the clock, which adds to the urgency of this whole situation, and so is the unique way you find Cousin Moo, which, really, dude, time and place. Like Katamari Sprinkler, I couldn't in Gun Conscious rank it number 1 because of the small scale and the fact that this is basically an interactive cutscene, but hopefully you can understand why I made the top 3 in spite of all of this. Point is, the more you think about this, the more you realize how messed up it is, and as a degenerate edgelord angst enjoyer, I appreciate that. O King of all Cosmos, they could never make me form a solid opinion on you.
You do realize that if you only eat sweet shit, you're gonna end up a fatty McFatterson.
For the silver medal, take everything I said about the calories level and add on some silliness, some physics, and a dash of cannibalism, and you have yourself the sumo level. This is, in my opinion, the most balls-to-the-walls insane concept that perfectly fits in with the strange world of Katamari Forever. The obvious standout here is the shape of your Katamari, which is in fact an amateur sumo wrestler, who you roll into foods to make him more fat. This applies to the ball physics as well, which actually makes this one of few levels that gets easier as you progress, but in a fun and unique way, unlike some earlier levels that you were just given nothing to roll. And the cherry on top is the ending, where you slam into your opponent and hope you knock him out of the ring. Or you could just roll him, that works too. If you're in the mood for something completely ridiculous and absurd, which is probably the reason you picked up a Katamari game, this is the level for you. I originally had this down in A tier since I wasn't as good as it as some of the other ones, but the more I played it, the more it kept rising up.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
So for the rest of this list, it might kind of look like I only like the easy levels so I can just sweep, but nope, because my favorite level in this game is the one they got a sadist with a torture degree from Torture College to design, and I am of course talking about the shopping level. It's Katamari on a budget, where the king of the universe cheaped out and gave you 300,000 yen to cram as many inexpensive things into your Katamari as possible. But watch out, because there are a bunch of random gold bars lining the supermarket shelves, and this store has a you roll it, you buy it policy, so one wrong step and you're screwed. This level is just really incredibly fun, but unlike some other levels where the fun comes from absolutely demolishing the required score, this one challenges you, and it requires some actual strategy. But it also doesn't make me want to bash my head against the wall out of pure frustration and agony. It's not timed either, so you can spend all day meandering around the area searching for a corn snack before some random thing smacks you into a tower of old coins. It's not just my personal preference that makes me put this at number 1, because this is just really well done from a game design perspective as well. Of course, there are all the little expensive guys hanging out among the cheap items, my favorite being this chopstick tower, but there's also the shelf path with the battery sections, which offers a high risk, high reward challenge that I usually mess up. And really, this is such an obvious concept for a level that if the prince had to go to the store, I doubt he resists the urge to complete that shopping list a la Katamari. I guess I just really like this type of puzzle, because my favorite levels from the entire series is Chateau Notre Désir. For Beautiful Katamari, the Memories one. And before anyone accuses me of being biased towards Beautiful Katamari, this was literally the only DLC I didn't buy growing up. I had all the others. So even though it's technically from an older game, I'll always associate this amazing level with my favorite game in the series, Katamari forever. So that's my ranking. Hopefully, even if you don't agree with my list, you can at least see where I'm coming from, and maybe let me know your favorite level in the comments. If you like this video and are looking for more Katamari content, then maybe consider subscribing or something, I don't know. I've got plans for a top 20 Katamari Forever songs and a story analysis video, and maybe some animatics if I can find the motivation. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.